मगर इस देश रहना चाहिए, इस देश का लोकतंत्र में रहना चाहिए।
You can do one Mumbai, you may lose Baluchistan.
2, 1, 0. S139 mortar.
This man is a horrible man. He must be shunned.
For this to count. Our job is to hit the target, not to count the body bags.
Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Hi, Parth. So today, this podcast will discuss something technology and telecom and satellite related. So let's take our viewers to something which is happening as of now, as we are speaking. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So let's go to the slideshow.
So the topic today is Starlink in India, and we have read in the newspapers that Starlink has been denied permission to start its services in India. So we'll see what are the regulatory challenges and the rise of indigenous satellite broadband, and what are the clearance hurdles for Geo and Starlink. And Geo has also announced its satellite string of satellites. So we'll discuss all this in today's podcast. Yes. So we should understand what is satellite broadband. So basically, when we talk of GMPCS, the global mobile personal communications through satellites, we mean to say that we are earlier satellites were uh, majorly geo, you know, and basically high Earth orbit satellites and geostationary, and they had very limited bandwidth. But over time, with the cost of launching the satellite has reduced substantially, and the bandwidth in the satellite has increased. So what we find is that the data rate or the speed in a satellite communication is now comparable to a this mobile or cellular connectivity. So when we say satellite broadband, what we mean is providing broadband services through satellite. So nearly we've got 800 million internet users today in the world, with significant rural and remote gaps existing, because cellular mobile communication can only reach places where we have towers. So at many places, installing towers is not a good return on investment for companies. And if there are small villages, they don't provide towers, and you find gaps in cellular connectivity there. With satellites with a broad footprint over the area, the entire subcontinent, you can have connectivity everywhere. So LEO satellite services, LEO are such satellites which are low Earth orbit satellites, and hence the delay in reaching the signal back from the Earth to the satellite and back is substantially low, and the latency is less, and hence you have high speeds, and it resembles a mobile communication, if for a layman. So LEO satellite services are critical. Last slide. Last slide, yeah. Are critical for last mile connectivity in hilly terrain. Say, if you go to the mountains in Himalayas or Uttarakhand, Himachal, such villages, you'll find that there are gaps in cellular communication where the satellite communication can really make a difference. Border disaster. Even you should know that in the borders in Indian, at least in the Indian context, 50 kilometers around the borders, you cannot direct towers. So 50 kilometers there is no cellular connectivity. So such areas where cellular connectivity is not there, there we can have this satellite broadband making a huge difference. So Atmanirbhar Bharat self-reliance in critical communication is also very important. As of now, the Starlink status is on hold. The license was secured after a lot of years of engagement. Uh, what Airtel and Jio did, actually, what happens is you can launch the satellites, but that satellites further have to be connected to the cellular network. So a satellite phone can speak to the satellite, but if he wants to speak to a cellular phone, satellite phone can speak to satellite phone. But if a satellite phone wants to speak to a cellular phone, it has to go through a gateway on Earth. For the gateway terrestrial network, you need some terrestrial operator like Airtel and Jio to tie up with these people. So Airtel has tied up and Jio has tied up with SES. So both the operators have tied up with OneWeb, Airtel with OneWeb and Jio with SES. So they have tied up with these satellite operators, and they've got gateways in the country. So this partnership also had been announced. Financial MHA security clearance was frozen this month. The reasons are very different. See, Starlink was used even in the Ukraine and Russian war. Starlink terminals had been provided in Iran to go against the government. The problem with these Starlink terminals is that anybody can carry a terminal. Say, if I'm anti-national element in India, and I move from POK or Pakistan and move into Kashmir or the northern part of the country with my Starlink terminal, and I just open the terminal and start communicating with my handlers across the border for nefarious activities. How do you control it? Secondly, the Starlink network, the network operation control centers and all their control units are in US, and they do not abide by the Indian rules and regulations. Hence, if today India wants that some of these terminals being used by the anti-national elements should be stopped or debarred, we have to request the US authorities to do that. This is not accepted to in our context, because in Europe and other countries, their neighbors do not have such animosity. But in Indian context, where you've got Pakistan on one side, China on the other side, and Bangladesh also is like pro Pakistan, we cannot have these anti-national elements destroying our peace by just carrying one satellite terminal, which is a small box, and getting just going through our porous borders, coming inside the country. Hence, going through the security issues and how to control, and mobile networks are being run by the country cellular operators. You can have the gray and white users and decide that these users should be barred from the cellular activities or cellular connectivity. For satellite also we need the same. Hence Starlink was not providing the same. So hence it was the security clearance was frozen, and there were other issues of spectrum and resource revenue share up between the telcos and the satellite, this Starlink in this case, because Airtel and these Geos, they have bought the spectrum in a quite big amount of money, and they do not want the shares, the spectrum to the satellite operators. For the satellite operators, the spectrum was given in an administrative way, not auctioned, which was not very much accepted by the telcos. Hence, integration of the telco and the satellite companies was a big issue here. Hence, this point was there. Now, let's go to the Geo's step. Geo will be a totally different game, because the control and the operational setup of Geo will be totally Indian. The NOC may be in Mumbai, right? So, what I'm trying to say is the government can have more control, and the satellite terminals which to bar and which to allow as per the activities of our raw and these organizations, they can control and dictate. The government can dictate Geo that bar the so and so users from getting satellite connectivity, which are near the borders, or they find that they can be anti-national. So this is an advantage, and basically it is a Geo's India's answer to Starlink. So it will also launch the same LEO satellites in collaboration with SES, which is a US based satellite company, and the altitude will be 650-kilometer typical, which is a LEO altitude. When I say D2D, means device to device, so I don't need any other separate device with any cellular operator. I can communicate directly to my customer device. So device to device communication through satellite. In Space is the regulatory organization here, which gives the proposal has been submitted in 2-3 year deployment timeline, and there will be, for Geo it will be very easy, because it runs its own network, and the Geo satellites can automatically, their users can connect to the use of the terrestrial network, the cellular network. Next slide. So these are just the timelines. Initial application, what was the early friction, and the telcos were not very keen, because they thought the broadband users will be shifting to Starlink. Policy development, security scrutiny was there, and then they realized TRI also recommended administrative spectrum, which was not assignment of spectrum, which was not very much taken happily by the telcos in India. The national security, data localization, lawful interception, these were issues which were very critical for the government, which the Starlink did not agree to. So key GMPCS license though was granted, but these issues were still going on. But finally, the clearance was frozen, because they did not come to an agreement with the government of India. Next slide. So limited sovereign control over foreign control. See, we do not want, what we have understood over the years, say for X, earlier Twitter, even for Google, even for Facebook, we have observed that we have anti-national elements using these social media networks to suit their own requirements, to go against the policies of the government and create law and order situations in the country. And that is why government is wanting that these people should have their control mechanisms and control infrastructure within the country. So in the same way, so data interception, if I want to have the call records of certain user who is using a Starlink, I may have to request the Starlink, and Starlink may say, no, it is our transparent, policy with the user and we cannot share. All these issues are very critical in this case. So hence, geopolitically, we are in such a situation that we cannot let Starlink or such satellite terminals being used in the country without any control, without any regulation. And basically we want to create another alternative. Like if Starlink has worldwide been popular for these satellite terminals, we can have our own satellite terminals by Geo or Airtel, anybody in the future. So that is what the all the entire game is all about. Okay. So finally, what the Indian users we see. So today, Jio has launched, maybe after some time, Airtel with OneWeb will launch the same services. Just a minute. Okay. Okay. Already operation is Jio Space Fibre. So they have already announced it. The proof of concept is already going on. I think it should be gigabit, near gigabit speeds, maybe 200, 300 Mbps or maybe more. So some proof of concepts have been done from Gir Forest, Korba, Chhattisgarh. That is what they have said. They are launching on 1600, 1650 satellites. Why do you require so many satellites? Because a geo satellite with 3 geo satellites, geosynchronous Earth orbit satellites, you can have the entire Earth covered. But once you come down, so the footprint goes smaller. You need more satellites. So one satellite moves out of your horizon, you need the next satellite. So there are strings of satellites which should be continuously on the move to cover, give you a continuous connectivity any part of the world. Hence, you need so many satellites. So around 1600, 1650 satellites, 650 kilometers, and their deployment time is 2 to 3 years, is what they are planning. And each of these satellites generally last 6, 7 years. Okay, LEO satellites. So
The
broadband,
interesting thing, sir, is that sometimes you can see the Starlink satellites even above our heads. They are going like
yeah,
a string
string
of
of
pearl.
stars, yeah, string stars. You find so many stars. Those are the satellites because they're positioning system and the certain light functions you can see in the night, and that you see in the dark night. Yes. So they'll have full integration with the 4G, 5G, cellular ecosystem, and Indian entity and MHA and DOT will obviously have all their requirements fulfilled by Geo, and servant control will be there. So that is what we are looking at: Atmanirbhar, satellite connectivity, broadband satellite communication. Next. So what I see future for Indian consumers is that you'll have extended rural and remote coverage. We'll have no issues of connectivity. कि मेरा network नहीं आ रहा है, Airtel का यहाँ अच्छा है, Jio का वहाँ अच्छा है. Though we have an option today, either choose between Airtel, Jio, Vodafone, or BSNL. But this will provide you an overall better communication throughout. It will be like a torch light which is seen everywhere, unless you are under some bridge or such forest area. Otherwise, satellite connectivity is across the country, will be generally uniform. It will be affordable because due to competition and other players which are already there, the pricing will be slightly higher. Maybe we've got 300-400 ka aajkal monthly 5G ka talk time and data and voice services. It may be maybe 700-800, but the advantage is that you can use it everywhere and the speeds will be at par or maybe slightly lesser than cellular, but yes, at par. Seamless hybrid experience, so you can speak to a geospace ka user equipment to a geospace equipment, or you can speak to a similar 5G phone anywhere in the country. So trust, security, and compliance will be more easy for the government, and they'll comply with the rule of the land. And so the Digital India, all these government initiatives can easily run. So government already pushes these telcos to go to remote villages and government gives them money that you put towers for cellular connectivity in small villages and post offices and other places. With satellite broadband, this will be very easy. It will be very easy for the government to implement these Digital Bharat,
Yes, sir.
Digital
And
India
even
connectivity.
this year, when I went to Nubra Valley,
Hmm.
near the in Leh Ladakh, from
Hmm.
there I went. Even in a very very deserted area, there was excellent 5G network. Like I was pleased
Yes.
to tell you that for both Airtel and Jio, you had a really good network in even in the most remote areas.
So that is an initiative by Government of India, Ministry of Department of Telecom, that certain remote areas, even if they are not return on investment is not good or the revenue is not very good for the telcos, you have to create cellular infrastructure there for the rural population and also for defense. Let me tell you also, the satellite broadband is nothing new. Over my 24 or 26 years of service, I've been using these satellite phones and satellite connectivity in Leh, Ladakh, Kashmir. It was already there for the defense and government agencies, but now this is coming to the common man, to the civilians, that we can also use this satellite broadband service by this LEO satellites which are coming in. And innovation ecosystem, obviously the space industry with more satellite launches, and Geo may use ISRO's satellite launchers to put its satellite on board the orbit. So all these things will be a new ecosystem for the space industry. So the key takeaways will be in the strategic outlook will be security and sovereign Trump speed. So this Trump is not the Trump which we already know. What we mean is good speed. India's decision to pause Starlink despite license shows non-negotiable priority. And basically, we give more importance to India first policy, that we want our networks to run as per our requirements and as per government policies. It should not be run as what the corporate and the capital markets in US decide. And if we feel that something is important for our security and sovereignty of our country, the network should adhere to those law of the land. It doesn't matter if a biggie like Starlink is not getting permissions. We will provide the same alternative with Indian, make in India, Indian options. So consumers will stand to gain. You may never know that Starlink, after all this, may comply with this, and they say no, we'll create another knock in India also. Other knock
Because I think
people.
there is a possibility that they may be accountable to the shareholders now that they're public, that why they are losing an opportunity, that they could just comply with the regulators and still be competitive. It could be the case.
See why Tesla did not come earlier, if you remember, because they were insisting, "Nahi, we are a big company. You're a India. You're a small country. We'll manufacture wherever you want. We come and we sell cars." That is not going to work here. In the same way, Starlink must be thinking, we are a big company, and why should we listen to India's policy? But India being such a big market and the future of the world in terms of economic growth, we can always say that if you don't do it, we'll do it our way, and you have to comply. Then only we give permission because it's a huge market. Because we are giving you, captive consumers, and you have to at least comply to the rule of the land. And I'm sure in a couple of years, even Starlink will follow suit. But it is good that Geo has taken the lead as an alternative. So these are the sources where we have taken all this information from, and, Starlinks and multiple reports of TechCrunch, then Republic, Business Today. The list is on the view file.
So, sir, that concludes our presentation for now.
Yeah. So it good to have some technology discussions. No, generally we are having more of geopolitical and other issues. Yes.
Absolutely, sir. So,
Yeah.
thank you for having
Thank you
both
for
of us on the
listening to
show.
our views, and Jai Hind and Vande Mataram.
Jai Hind.